Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 1, Text 4. Samshayoyam mahan brahman dārāgāra sutādishu saktasya yat siddhirabhūt Krishne chamatirachyuta. Samshayah, doubt. Ayam, this. Mahan, great. Brahman, O Brahmana. Dāra, to the wife. Agara, home. Suta, children. Adishu, and so on. Saktasya, of a person attached. Yat, because. Siddhi, perfection. Abhut, became. Krishna, unto Krishna. Cha, also. Matihi, attachment. Achyuta, infallible. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. The king continued, O great Brahmana, this is my great doubt. How is it possible for a person like King Priyavrata, who was so attached to wife, children and home, to achieve the topmost infallible perfection in Krishna consciousness? Please repeat. The king continued, O great Brahmana, this is my great doubt. How is it possible for a person like King Priyavrata, who was so attached to wife, children and home, to achieve the topmost infallible perfection in Krishna consciousness? Purport. King Parikshit wondered how a person so attached to wife, children and home could become so perfectly Krishna conscious. Prahlad Maharaj said, Matirna Krishna paratah svato va mitho bhipadyeta grhavratanam. A grhavrata, one who has taken a vow to execute family duties, has no chance to become Krishna conscious. This is because most grhavratas are guided by sense gratification and therefore gradually glide down to the darkest regions of material existence. Adanta gobhir vishatam tamishram. Srimad Bhagavatam 7.5.30. How can they possibly become perfect in Krishna consciousness? Maharaj Parikshit asked Sukadeva Goswami to resolve this great doubt. So instead of leaving it as a cliffhanger, we'll read the next verse. But this is actually not a verse, this is prose. Is that so? So, wow. 35. I'll just make one minute. Bhagavata Paramahamsa Daita Katham Kinchit Antaraya Vihatam Swam Shivatamam Patavim Na Prayena Himmanti. 38. So this is a prose. Shri Shuka Uvacha Badhamuktam Bhagavata Uttama Shlokasya श्रीमच्चरणारविन्द मकरन्दरस आवेशितचेतसो भागवत परमहंस दयितकथां किञ्चित् अन्तराय विहतां स्वां शिवतमां पदवीं न प्रायेण हिन्वन्ति। Shri Shukha Uvacha, Shri Sukadeva Goswami said, Bādham, correct, Uktam, what you have said, Bādham Uktam. Bhagavataha, of the personality of Godhead, Uttama Shlokasya, who is praised with excellent verses. Srimad Charanaravinda, of the feet which are just like the most beautiful fragrant lotus flowers. Makaranda, honey, Rase, nectar, Aveshita, absorbed, Chetasaha, whose hearts, Bhagavata, to the devotees, Paramahamsa, liberated persons, Dayita, pleasing, Katham, glorification, Kinchit, sometimes, Antaraya, by impediments, Vihatam, checked, Swam, own, Shivatamam, most exalted, Padavim, position, Na, do not, Prayena, almost always, Hinvanti, give up. You know, this word, many people don't pay attention. They say Daitya. Daitya means son of Diti. All the demons are called Daityas. Dayita means pleasing. Varshabhanavi Dayita Das. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's initiated name is Varshabhanavi Dayita Das. Sometimes they say Varshabhanavi Daitya Das. He is a servant of a demon. So that's why it is very important how we pronounce. We must take a little care. Dayita. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Sukadeva Goswami said, what you have said is correct. The glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is praised in eloquent transcendental verses by such exalted personalities as Brahma, are very pleasing to great devotees and liberated persons. One who is attached to the nectarian honey of the Lord's lotus feet and whose mind is always absorbed in His glories may sometimes be checked by some impediment, but he still never gives up the exalted position he has acquired. Shivatamam padavim naprayena hinvanti. Purport. Sri Sukadeva Goswami accepted both of the king's propositions. That a person who is advanced in Krishna consciousness cannot embrace materialistic life again, and that one who has embraced materialistic life cannot take up Krishna consciousness at any stage of his existence. Although accepting both these statements, Shukadeva Goswami qualified them by saying that a person who has once absorbed his mind in the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead may sometimes be influenced by impediments, but he still does not give up his exalted devotional position. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, there are two kinds of impediments to devotional service. The other day I was reading this, quite interesting. Two kinds of impediments to devotional service. The first is an offense at the lotus feet of a Vaishnava. This is called Vaishnava Aparadh. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu warned his devotees not to commit Vaishnava Aparadh, which he described as the mad elephant offense. When a mad elephant enters a beautiful garden, it destroys everything, leaving a barren field. Similarly, the power of Vaishnava Aparadh is so great that even an advanced devotee becomes almost devoid of his spiritual assets if he commits it. Since Krishna consciousness is eternal, it cannot be destroyed altogether, but advancement may be checked for the time being. Thus, Vaishnava Aparadh is one kind of impediment to devotional service. Sometimes, however, the Supreme Personality of Godhead or his devotee desires to impede one's devotional service. This is interesting. Supreme Personality of Godhead or his devotee desires to impede one's devotional service. For example, Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha were formerly Jaya and Vijay, the gatekeepers in Vaikuntha, but by the desire of the Lord, they became his enemies for 3 lives. Thus, the desire of the Lord is another kind of impediment. But in both cases, the pure devotee, once advanced in Krishna consciousness, cannot be lost. Following the orders of his superiors, Swayambhuva and Lord Brahma, Priyavrata accepted family life, but this did not mean he lost his position in devotional service. Krishna consciousness is perfect and eternal, and therefore it cannot be lost under any circumstances. Because the material world is full of obstructions to advancement in Krishna consciousness, there may appear to be many impediments. Yet Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, declares in Bhagavad Gita 9.31, Kaunteya pratijanihi name bhaktah pranashyati. Once one has taken shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord, he cannot be lost. In this word, the word Shivatamam is very significant. Shivatamam means the most auspicious. Shiva means auspicious and Tamam means superlative degree. Shivataram. Shivam means auspicious. Shivataram means more auspicious. Shivatamam means most auspicious. Positive, comparative, superlative. So, Shivatamam means the most auspicious. The devotional path is so auspicious that a devotee cannot be lost under any circumstances. This is described in the Srimad Bhagavad Gita by the Lord himself. Partha naiveha namutra vinashastasya vidyate. My dear Arjuna, for a devotee there is no question of being lost either in this life or in the next. 6.40 Bhagavad Gita. In Bhagavad Gita 6.43, the Lord explains how this is so. Tatra tam buddhi samyogam labhate paurvadehikam yatate cha tato bhuya samsiddhau kurunandana. By the order of the Lord, a perfect devotee sometimes comes to this wiped away. Because of his previous practice, such a perfect devotee naturally becomes attached to devotional service, apparently without cause. Despite all kinds of impediments due to surrounding circumstances, he automatically perseveres in devotional service and gradually advances until he once again becomes perfect. Bilumangal Thakur had been an advanced devotee in his previous life, but in his next life he became greatly fallen and was attached to a prostitute. Suddenly, however, his entire behavior was changed by the words of the very prostitute who had so much attracted him, and he became a great devotee. In the lives of exalted devotees, there are many such instances proving that once one has taken to the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, he cannot be lost. Kaunteya pratijanihi name bhaktah pranashyati. The fact is, however, that one becomes a devotee when he is completely freed from all reactions to sinful life, as Krishna states in Bhagavad Gita 7.28. Yesham tvantagatam papam jananam punyakarmanam te dvandamoha mukta bhajante mam dridhavrataha. Persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, whose sinful actions are completely eradicated and who are freed from the duality of illusion, engage themselves in my service with determination. On the other hand, as Prahlad Maharaj said, Matirna Krishne paratasvato va mitho bhipadyeta Gṛhavratanam. A person who is too attached to materialistic family life, home, family, wife, children and so on, cannot develop Krishna consciousness. These apparent contradictions are resolved in the life of a devotee by the grace of the Supreme Lord, and therefore a devotee is never bereft of his position on the path of liberation, which is described in this verse as Shivatamam Padavim. So, Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmelitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupah Kadamahyam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। So maybe you can share the class on the KI. Somebody share so that they can participate in Krishna Katha. जय श्री श्री राधा मदन मोहन। So before we go to the verse, just I wanted to show this. You see in this verse 643 Bhagavad Gita, tatra tam buddhi samyogam labhate paurvadekam yatate cha tato bhuya samsiddhau kurunandana. So there is one verse, no? Madhya 1.208, that when a person he becomes initiated, his name must be changed so that he does not identify with the family. But here Krishna reminds many times in Bhagavad Gita of Krishna's family lineage, Kurunandana, descendant of Kuru dynasty. So because this verse especially, he is talking about how a person comes back after incomplete yogic practice and then comes back into this world in the house of rich aristocracy or even other rich family or aristocratic family. Suchinam Srimatam Gehe Yoga Gṛhastha Vijayate. So, to remind Arjuna, you have come from a very aristocratic family, which behooves you to act judiciously and exemplarily so that you not only make good use of your birth but also set a good example for others to follow. A good family, a good lineage is respectable, and therefore we have to behave properly accordingly. And even if he was mentioning their families were actually connected with Krishna, so they are not ordinary family lineages. So in devotee's case, his entire family, pranam punati sakulam natu bhurimana. But still, this is because Arjuna was already a perfect devotee. Of course, he is playing a part of a confused soul. But a person who is advancing, who is not on the level of perfection yet, he has to always identify himself with the new name, so that he always sees himself as a servant of Krishna. Because our names include our family name, sometimes father's name, sometimes the village name, sometimes the caste name. So these bring about an identification with the body. Therefore, a name has to be changed after initiation for this purpose, so that, like everybody here, either a devotee's servant or Krishna's servant, like that, the name is given. Govinda dāsa, Tattvavit dāsa. Tattvavit means one who knows the absolute truth. It means who is a devotee. Dāsa, servant of such a person. So in this way, we have to identify ourselves as Gopi Bhartu Padakamalayur Dāsa Dāsanu Dāsa. So this is explained in the Madhya Lila, first chapter, 208th verse. So anyway, coming back to this verse, very, very important, significant matter here. That Parikshit Maharaj asked this question. It's very interesting because Parikshit Maharaj says, how is it that Priyavrata is actually the brother of Uttanapad, who is the, what is that? Yes, no, his father. Swayambhu Manu is it? Uttanapad's father is, who is that? Swayambhu Manu? Yes. Devahuti is the sister, right? Yeah, I think Devahuti, Prasuti and Akuti are the sisters, and then the two brothers are Priyavrata and Uttanapad. 5 children. So, Uttanapad was actually the second son. Priyavrata was the first son. But Uttanapad became a king first, and Priyavrata did not. That's usually not the case. But in this case, Priyavrata was totally disinterested, and he was instructed by Narada Muni. Narada Muni always makes people renounced. So, Priyavrata was not at all interested in family life. So, Uttanapad took up the post, and then he had 2 wives, and Dhruva Maharaj and Uttama. So, later on, when Uttanapad left the family life, then Brahma called Priyavrata to accept the post of king. And Priyavrata, and if you just a few verses before this, I think in the last or first in this canto or the last canto. So it is said, Brahma said, yes, you have heard from Narada that you have to renounce, but the Supreme Personality of Godhead wants you to get married. And this is my order also to you, that you please accept this. You will not be harmed by this. So such assurance is given and such order is given. So now we have to Mahajana Yena Gata Sapantha. We have to follow the path of the Mahajans. But here 2 Mahajans are telling 2 different things. Brahma is one of the Mahajans, Swayambhu and Narada. In the 12 Mahajans, these 2 are first 2. Swayambhu, Narada, Shambhu. So one Mahajan gave instruction to leave family life, another Mahajan gave you go into family life. So which Mahajan to follow? So in the case of the 4 Kumaras, Brahma instructed them to take a family life, but they were not interested. In the case of the 11,000 sons of Daksha Prajapati is not an ordinary person, but he was not exactly a Mahajan because he was still connected with sex life and still attached to family enjoyment, although he was very expert in conducting the sacrifices and everything. His intention was to populate the world because at that time universe population was not much in the beginning of the day of Brahma. So the world had to be populated, and that's why as a duty to Krishna he wanted to populate the world. So he first of all begotten 10,000 sons and gave them to Narada Muni for training. Narada Muni renounced them. Not renounced them, he trained them in renunciation. So not even one out of all 10,000, not even one chose family life. Then they were not interested in begetting. Daksha got very angry, and then he begot another 1,000 sons. He warned Narada Muni, see, I am entrusting them to you to train them in spiritual life, and so that they can come out and have family, and not just family, with religious life, and then in this way the universe can be populated with righteous people. So please don't foil my plan. So he again 1,000 sons preached to them heavily about devotional service. They were completely disinterested in family life. They also chose sannyas. 11,000 sons gone. So Daksha was very upset about this whole thing. What is this? And he actually chastised Narada so much that you do not know responsibility. You think you are doing a great service by liberating everyone, giving them sannyas. You think you are the big hero. But you don't understand the complicated duties of household life. We can maintain spiritual life and we can manage these material affairs of the universe. Whereas you got nothing to do with material affairs, so of course you don't have any responsibility. You can say, I will liberate everyone. We Gṛhasthas are much better off than you. We can handle both. So in this way he was saying. So, but this is not the case actually, because the whole purpose of this universe is to liberate everyone here. If the universe is empty, there is no loss. If a prison is empty, that is not a bad sign. That is a good sign. So of course, if the prison is as good as Vaikuntha, that so much so that no conditioned souls can enter, it's a good thing in one way. It's a Vaikuntha. So there is no big loss if the universe is not populated or what. No big deal, actually. But of course, there are innumerable souls, rascals who are waiting to come inside. So eventually it will happen one way or other. So we don't have to take even as responsible a duty as being a Prajapati. The Sanandana, Sanat Kumara, they left. They became sannyasis and Brahma was angry at them. But still, he could not say anything because their purpose was higher. They were decided. So sometimes such disobedience is observed, such transgression of apparent transgression of etiquette is observed when a person becomes renounced. He seemingly does not care for his parents or does not care for his wife. He takes sannyas or doesn't care for his children. In the case of Sridhar Swami, you know the Sridhar Swami story. You should know. He's from Odisha. Shirchara Gopinath. Yeah. His samadhi is near the, I think Bhajan Kutir, or near this thing. We went 2017. So the Sridhar Swami, he was a brahmachari. He wanted to take sannyas. So parents called him and come back, you are the only son, we need children, we need grandchildren. So you come and beget. Okay. Then they said get married. He said okay, he got married, then he wanted to take sannyas. Married and wanted to take sannyas. But then wife said no, I want a son at least. Okay. So she got pregnant. Then he wanted to take sannyas. No, at least stay until the child is born. Okay. I will take sannyas when the child is born. Child was born. His wife died at childbirth. So he was left with this boy. He said, what have I planned and where have I ended up? I wanted to take sannyas. Now I got married, got a child, wife died, now I have to take care of the son. What is this? Then as he was thinking like this, one lizard fell from the tree under which he was sitting. Baby lizard, very small. And he fell down. Then he saw an insect and he chased and ate the insect and then went into the bushes. I think Krishna is maintaining everyone. He left, took sannyas. Now this may be a very bad example for materialists. Hey, how come no responsibility? What is this? You beget child and no responsibility. What is this? Otherwise, don't beget children. No? They will say like this. But the thing is, anybody can take care of the child. Now, of course, when one is not such elevated person as Sridhar Swami, this is condemned because it is actually running away from responsibility. But in the case of devotees, Tattvavit turnam ashesha mandalapatim shrenim sadha tuchhavat bhutva dina ganeshakau karunaya kaupina kanthashritau the devotees may give up very, very exalted responsibilities in this material world. However great they may be, however urgent they may sound and seem, a devotee for a higher cause is prepared to give up all this. The 6 Goswamis gave up exalted government posts. They were Prime Minister. They were secretary directly to that Prime Minister of that. He was a king basically, but this Sanatana and Rupa Goswamis were like Prime Minister, almost right hand man of the king. Oh no, I'm very important, sir. I have a great meeting now. No, give up. Gave up everything, joined Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Raghunath Das Goswami's father was so rich, Zamindar. He said that he is as good as Indra, so much riches he had. But Raghunath Das Goswami was trying to run away. His father was trying to keep him. He had bodyguards, many security personnel. Not because he was rich and he wanted to protect his money. The security guard is for his son from running out. It is not to catch the thief, but to catch the son. So about dozen people were there. Whenever he runs, they will catch him and bring him back to the home. So in this way, they tried all they could, and they even got him married. They made sure that she is extremely beautiful, so that he will get some attachment at least. But then after that also he ran. One night he ran, never to return. Then the mother, Raghunath Das Goswami's mother, was pleading with the father. Why didn't you chain him up? You should have chained him up. What is the use of these bodyguards? He will run, when they were sleeping, he ran, you see. You should have chained him up. And then he cannot run. But how would you chain a son like that? Like if you chain a grown-up man, it doesn't look good. So the father said, I have chained him with a beautiful wife. If that is not enough to keep him, what this ordinary chain will do? The greatest chain that is there is the wife. Vimukta karmargala uttamam gatim. So, what is that? Even Krishna also says to the gopis, Samvrishcha tattva prativatu sadhana. न पारयेऽहं निरवद्य संयुजां स्वसाधु कृत्यं विबुधायुषापि वः या मा भजन् दुर्जरगेह शृङ्खलाः संवृश्च तद्वः प्रतियातु साधुना. Durjara Shrinkhala. This is what I want to say. What is Durjara Shrinkhala? Durjara, difficult to overcome. Geha Shrinkhala, the chains of household life. Samvrishya, cutting. You have cut. He praised the gopis that you have cut the chains of household life, which are very difficult to cut. So therefore Krishna says, I am not able to repay my debt for your spotless service even within the lifetime of Brahma. Your connection with me is beyond reproach. You have worshipped me, cutting off all domestic ties which are difficult to break. Therefore please let your own glorious deeds be your compensation. So, Durjara Geha Shrinkhala. And Brahma also said, this is famous verse, Tavad Ragadaya Stenas Tavat Karagraham Graham Tavan Mohom Grinigado Yavat Krishnanate Janaha. Karagraham Graham. Graham, we call it Graham. Here Brahma is saying, no, it is not Graham, it is Karagraham. You know what is Karagraham? Prison house. It is not a house. Karagraham Graham. Graham means house, Karagraham. Tavat Karagraham Graham. So my dear Lord Krishna, until people become your devotees, their material attachments and desires remain thieves, their homes remain prisons, and their affectionate feelings for their family members remain foot shackles. This Durjara Geha Shrinkhala is very difficult to overcome. It's not easy. Gṛhastha, in other words, this 7530 also, if you go and see. Shri Prahlāduvaca Matirna Krishne Paratah Svatova Mitho Bhipadyeta Gṛhavratanam Adanta Gobhir Vishatam Tamisram Punah Punascharvita Charvananam Adanta Gobhir Vishatam Tamisram. Now, because of their uncontrolled senses, persons too addicted to materialistic life, Gṛhastha. Vrata means to take a vow. They have taken a vow to remain in this material world. Rascals. Obstinate, adamant rascals, they are called Gṛhavratas. Just like there is Ekadashi Vrata. We take a vow to fast for Krishna. There is some commitment. Gṛhavrata means they are committed to household life. Family first. It's glorified in the Western culture. Oh, family first means is a very good man, responsible man. Family is not first. God is first. God is real family. Manasa deho geho jo kichu more arpilu tuva pade Nanda Kishore. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying, everybody says, Prabhu, Gṛhastha life is also okay, no? Why you are condemning like this? Bhaktivinoda Thakur, see how nice Gṛhastha he was. Yeah. 15 minutes in a day talking to wife. That is his Gṛhastha life. One day, 15 minutes only he will talk to wife, maximum. Not more than that. He will never meet his wife more than that. Only for begetting children, otherwise 15 minutes talk. And Manasa Deho Geho Joki Chumo Arpilu Tuapadananda. Whatever, my mind, my body, my house, my wife, whoever, whatever is so called mine, I offer to you, Krishna, at your lotus feet. What does that mean? We are meant for his service. Engage the family members in Krishna's service. Myself engage in Krishna's service. Whatever I have will be engaged in Krishna's service. It is Krishna's. So, Adanta Gobir Vishatam Tamishram, these Gṛhavratas, they have uncontrolled senses. That's why they are, usually Vrata means you control something. You control your eating or control something and do some special thing. But here, they control their spiritual life. They put that under hold. It's like fasting means we put our eating under hold, on hold. They put their spiritual life on hold and Gṛhavrata, family first. And they are determined to stay in this material world despite all tribulations. This is their tapasya. They are also undergoing their great tapasya. It's not easy to be here. But they are vrata, they have taken vrata. I will, whatever it is, I will stay here. If that much attachment one can have for Krishna, whatever obstacles may come, I want to be with Krishna. I don't want to. That is Krishna Vrata, Brihad Vrata. Big desire, big Vrata. Of course, sometimes Brahmacharya is called Brihad Vrata. Naishtik Brahmacharya is called Brihad Vrata. Very big vow. Or for householders, Bhishma Pratigna. Why is it called Bhishma Dev? What is the meaning of Bhishma? Big? No? Huh? Huh? Ota? No? What is Bhishma? No. He is a great Mahajan. His name is Bhishma. Bhishma means horrible. Bhishma Pratignya means horrible vow. Horrible promise. Because when his name is Devavrata. Right? Devavrata, his name. So he, when he promised that Satyavati, his father, that because actually Shantanu wanted to marry her, no? But she said, the father said, no, no, I cannot allow. Why? Because I want my grandson, my daughter's son, to become the next king. But he said, I already have a son, Bhishma, Devavrat. He has to become king, he's elder, that is etiquette. Then he said, no, then you forget my daughter, you go. Then he was disappointed because he liked the girl very much. Then this Devavrat went. He found out the cause of his father's lamentation. A son, if he finds his father lusting after some woman, it is actually a little bit, But in Kshatriya it is okay, because there is polygamy. There is nothing wrong. So he went to the fisherman and said, see, please give your daughter to my father. No, I already said, you will become king, so I can't. Only I want my grandson to become king. Okay, I won't become king. And then what is assurance? What assurance is there? Your son will become king. Your son will fight with my grandson. You see, planning. Marriage hasn't happened, He is planning. Your son will fight with my grandson, later on there will be disputes. So everybody will say, I am a fisherman, my grandson will be a fisherman, this grandson. So then he said, Devavrat said, okay, I will never marry and not sit on the throne. Are you happy? Okay. Now it's fine. Then he brought Satyavati, and then Shantanu was very happy. Oh, you have done it, what I could not do. Thank you very much. How did you do it? He wanted, he had these conditions. Yeah, I told that I will not sit on the throne and I will not even marry. Then he got very distressed. Oh, Bhishma Pratignya. Very horrible vow you have taken. For a materialist who is attached to family life, that is horrible. For a person who is devotee, he is saying Haribol. Father is saying horrible. So, but of course his father was also not an ordinary person, although he looks like he is lusting after a woman. He was very powerful. He gave him the benediction that he will die only when he wants to. That's why even though he was on the bed of arrows, he could die on. He chose that when the sun goes to the northern hemisphere, then I will give up my body. And that time was used to speak. When Krishna and Arjuna, all the Pandavas went to him and then he spoke. In Mahabharata, Bhishma Parva is the longest. He spoke so much, that so much he spoke lying on the bed of arrows. 55 days he spoke. Not ordinary. 2 months he is speaking on the bed of arrows. So, Bhishma Pratignya. So this Gṛhastha, he is a Mahajan, but his name is horrible. Horrible Mahajan. What is that? That is actually from the materialistic point of view. But it is a very great vow. So anyway, one who takes a vow, Dṛhastha, yesham antagatam papam jananam punyakarmanam, te dvandva moha nirmukta bhajate mam Dṛhastha. Dṛhastha means very firmly fixed in determination. So we have to be firmly fixed in our determination to serve Krishna. And such firm determination will come when one has given up all sinful reactions and is completely purified. Then one can do that. So, Prahlad Maharaj is saying, for a person who is Gṛhastha and who is Adanta Gobhir Vishatamtam, Danta means what? Dant means usually teeth, right? Dant means actually control. Control. Adanta means uncontrolled. Uncontrolled. Gobhir. Uncontrolled senses. Such a Gṛhastha will be uncontrolled in his senses. Vishatam Tamisram. Vishatam means enters into, Tamisram means darkness. punah punascharvita charvananam. He will keep on chewing the chewed. Same thing, same pleasure he will go after again and again after it in different ways. So such a person who is so focused on family life, he cannot become Krishna conscious by any effort. You see, their inclinations toward Krishna are never aroused, either by instructions of others, by their own efforts, or by a combination of both. You see? They'll make some effort, or others will instruct them. But if I am Gṛhavrata, I will never become advanced in this. Matirna Krishna. Matirna Krishna means their mind will never be in Krishna consciousness. Matirna Krishna. Parata svatova. Mithobhipadhyeta Gṛhavratanam. Mitha means together. So sometimes you see devotee association is very purifying. But if I don't take the instructions, that's why pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. There has to be surrender. There has to be submissive inquiry and service to the spiritual master. And that requires humility, that requires surrender, sacrifice. So if I do not sacrifice my sense gratification and live for the sake of only the Guru, if I have my own personal interests at heart, then I cannot advance. Krishna spoke the entire Bhagavad Gita, but the Arjuna became benefited. The proof of Arjuna's receiving the benefit is when he said Karishye Vachanam Tava. That is called Dridhavrata. If after listening the whole Bhagavad Gita, if Arjuna says, okay, let me consider first, let me consider first. In Singaporean language they say like that. Because sometimes we ask them to take a book and we'll explain to them everything. So it's a very important book, it will tell you who you are, have you wondered, where have you come from, where did you go after death, and these are the big questions of life, human life is meant for this, these books explain this, please take it. Okay, let me consider first, let me consider first. Arjuna did not say like that. Let me consider, let me come back, come back to you. No coming back. Stay here and tell me what you want to do. So Arjuna is Karishye Vachanam Tava. Then Krishna. Then Bhagavad Gita ended after that. That was the last. And the next 5 verses was only Sanjaya speaking the glories of Bhagavad Gita. That's it. That was the end. And Prabhupada in his book, in his song, which is I don't know, I keep forgetting that song's name. I did that Vaishnava song thing. So there is 27 4 stanzas in each part, and there were 27 such parts. Total 108 couplets, that whole song. And in that, Prabhupada explains very nicely the whole Krishna consciousness, everything. So we did that, studying Vaishnava songs, that episode as well. So in that he says, Karishye Vachanam Tava, Ei Mantra Siddhi. The perfection of all mantras is Karishye Vachanam Tava, Prabhupada said. That means the execution of the order of the spiritual master is the perfection of life. That's why Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, commenting on the 2nd chapter, 41st verse of Bhagavad Gita, what is that? Vyavasayatmika buddhi ekeha kurunandana bahushakha hyantascha buddhayo vyavasayinam. Vyavasayatmika buddhi ekeha kurunandana. Those who are on this path of Krishna consciousness are resolute in purpose, and their aim is one. O beloved son of the Kurus, the intelligence of those who are irresolute is many branched. So, and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments that Vyavasayatmaka buddhi ekeha Gurunandana means we have to have single pointed attention on how to execute the order of the spiritual master. No other thing should be the focus. Just completely, what do you call it? Blinders? The horse has those things. What are they called? The horse has this thing so that it sees only the front. If you take out this one, he will be distracted by everything. So they will put these blinders so that he just sees front and runs. So, Vyavasayatmaka buddhirekeha kurunandana. That should be the Karishya Vachanam Tava. Not Karishya Vachanam Tava, but also his Vachanam, Bahuvachanam. There is a verse for this. Chaitanya Charitamrita Adilila 16.11. Bahusastre, Bahuvakye, Chitte Brahma hoy, Sadhya Sadhan Shrestha na hoy Nishcha. Bahusastre, Bahuvakye, by many versions of many persons. Bahusastre by many books or scriptures. Chitte Brahma hoy. Within the heart there will be doubt. Sadhya Sadhan Shrestha na hoy Nishcha. This is what happens. If one becomes a bookworm, reading many books and scriptures and hearing many commentaries and instructions of many men, this will produce doubt within his heart. One cannot in this way ascertain the real goal of life. So I cannot Karishya Vachanam Tava, Karishya Vachanam, what is it? His, Te means they. Karishya Vachanam Saha. I cannot say like this. I will do every Vachanam, Prabhu. I will say yes to you, I will say yes to him. No. What spiritual master said, that one only yes. For other people, no. For spiritual master, readily yes. There is verse. Not this one. No. 13. Yeah. 324:13. एतावत्येव शुश्रूषा कार्या पितरिपुत्रकैः बाढ़म् इत्यनुमन्येत गौरवेण गुरोर्वचः. I only remember that word, बाढ़म्. That's why I searched for बाढ़म्. You can see. बाढ़म् means yes. बाढ़म् iti, accepting yes sir. This yes sir we have to do to the spiritual master. Sons ought to render service to their father exactly to this extent. One should obey the command of his father or spiritual master with due deference, saying yes sir. That's it. So then the mind will be focused and automatically pleases Krishna. Yes sir prasadat, Bhagavat prasadat. Every perfection is there by just saying Karishya Vachanam Tava, not just saying, but actually following through with that and actually acting on that. So we cannot, if I do not focus myself in following that order, there cannot be any perfection. So that is Adanta Gopir Vishatam Tamisram Punah Punascharutisara. So there are Gṛhastha, they are so determined to stay in family life. It is like this. There is another example that was said by Prabhupada. You know that what is it? Bridegroom's party across the river. You know the story? Yeah. So, you don't know? It means not reading. So there is this story of bride and bridegroom. So both their families were on the opposite sides of the river. So the bridegroom's party was coming to the bride's party for marriage. So they had to cross the river, a bit wide river, and so they employed a boatman. They wanted to go on the night time, so that they can nicely sleep in the boat and then wake up and will reach the other side. Then started off. Everybody got onto the boat. The guy started rowing, and these people slept. Sunrise happened. I'm still in the same place. What happened? Then the boatman, just dawn was rowing. He was. What did you do? You also slept or what? No, I was rowing. Whole night I was rowing. What happened? Then another person shouted, "Hey, you did not remove the anchor. Where will it go?" The anchor was there and he was rowing. So it was going round about the anchor. Like that. Like a cone shape. Anchor. So Prabhupada said, like this, we may want to row the boat of our Krishna consciousness flying across the ocean of material existence. But if we have no desire to remove the anchor, what is that anchor? Our material attachments. Gṛhastha. Our dog obstinacy to remain in this material world, in the family life. Being comfortable. It's not just, we are not saying that, as long as I am a family man, he will say that I am a dog obstinacy. No. We may be in family, but if we think that there is a platform of happiness, that is Gṛhastha. So as long as we are comfortable in family life, we want to be comfortable there, then no matter what we do, nothing will go forward. Matirna Krishne paratasvato va mitho bhipadyeta Gṛhastha. As long as we remain Gṛhasthas, we cannot advance. That anchor we are not leaving. We have to remove that. We have to let go of that vrata. We have to stop that vow of wanting to stay in this material world. And then only we can make. So the anchor is removed, then the boat will go without problem. So in this case, in the case of Priyavrata, the doubt was, how come he can be anchored and more boat will be moving at the same time? What is this? I want to know. Parikshit Maharaj is asking. But if you see, the anchor is coming from where? When the ship docks, when the ship stops, he knows everything about ships. An anchor. So when the ship stops and the anchor is put down, where is it put down from? From the ship only. Right? From the ship only, right? So it is put from the ship only. So the weight of that anchor was always on the ship. But it never obstructed the ship from moving. When the anchor is down on the ground like that, now it doesn't move. So a devotee can put the anchor in a ship and go. So he can move all the attachments, whatever family, putra, dharagar, whatever put here in the ship, go across the ocean. He can do this. So it's not that the anchor is given up. A ship is how heavy. How can the anchor weight be so heavy that it cannot move the ship? If it is on the ship, it cannot move, it cannot stop. But if it is like that, yes. Because water is so heavy in the water. So, like that, so Priyavrata, being a devotee, is a very important question he asked, because one party is there which is pravritti marga. Then there is another path which is nivritti marga. Pravritti marga is the path in which regulated sense gratification is prescribed. For vast majority of people in this material world, regulated sense gratification is the way for purification. Like if we ask everybody, every man to become Naistik Brahmachari, cannot. So 99% will become Gṛhasthas. But then there has to be regulated sense gratification. So, just because they cannot remain Naistik Brahmachari, they go to hell, never mind, rascal. No, still there has to be, program to uplift him and keep him uplifted. So that is Gṛhastha ashram. The whole point is focusing on Krishna and associating with devotees, but allowed some license for sense gratification. So that is pravritti marga. And the nivritti marga is there, which is renouncing everything and simply focus on Krishna and nothing, no other distractions. Pravrittiresha bhutanam nivrittistu mahaphala. But of course, for devotees it doesn't matter that much, for strong devotees. But for karmis, those who are especially, in all kinds of karmic activities, they definitely need to be regulated. Otherwise, they are not in devotional service that whatever they are doing is perfect now. But for devotee, he can do anything and still be perfect. Like Bhaktivinoda Thakur, yes, he was working as a magistrate, but still he was perfect because he was Krishna's devotee, and wherever any opportunity he will preach. So he is like Privrata. Even though he was in family life, it does not affect him. So there is pravritti marga, there is nivritti marga. The path of regulated sense gratification and the path of abstinence. But a devotee can be fully in this material world, untouched by the material world. When we are in the material world, in the water we get wet. But a padmapatram ivam bhasa, padmapatram means lotus leaf, does not get wet. Even though it is always in water. Coming out from a very dirty place. If you see the root, very, very muddy, lotus root. So, but from that it is coming, but the lotus flower is very beautiful, and the lotus leaf is untouched by water, is waterproof. So like that, Padmapatram evam bhasa, said in the 5th chapter. ब्रह्मण्याधाय कर्माणि संगम त्यक्त्वा करोति यः लिप्यतेन स पापेन पद्मपत्रमिवाम्भसा. One who performs his duty without attachment, surrendering the results unto the Supreme Lord, is unaffected by sinful action, as the lotus leaf is untouched by water. So for him there is no impediment. Family life is not an impediment. So that means spiritual life is so transcendental that these things don't matter. Whereas when we are not on that platform, Priyavrata is a pure devotee, but when we are not Priyavrata, when we are Grೃhvrata, that time it will be very difficult. So household life is one kind of life, and renounced life is another kind of life. Totally almost opposite. But for a devotee, this or that is the same. How can this and that be the same? Because he is transcendental to both. Because his level of consciousness is so high that, Priyavrata actually wanted to renounce and go back to Godhead. But when Krishna asked him to go into family life, for him it was not a very big deal. Because Svargapavarga Narakeshu api tulyartha darshina Narayana para sarve nakutasya bibhyati. What to speak of family life? Even hell would have been quite okay for a devotee. Narayana para sarve nakutasya bibhyati svargapavarga narakeshu api tulyartha darshina. Devotees solely engaged in the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Narayana Never fear any condition of life. For them, the heavenly planets, liberation, and the hellish planets are all the same. For such devotees who are interested only in the service of the Lord. Which is why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu does not ask Krishna to remove his material existence. He says, Mama Janmani Janmanishware, Bhavadad Bhakti Rahaitu Ditvai. Because although he is humble, that I do not deserve to go back to Godhead, but actually on the other side, on the flip side, he is so strong that he can handle even Janmani Janmanishware. A devotee only can say like that, because he is so strong. How come Kunti Devi is saying at the age of 110 to 115 years old, that what is that? Again and again she is saying, Vipadaha santu tāshashvat tatra tatra jagadguru bhavato darshanam yat syat apunarbhava darshanam. Okay, before we go to this verse, let's see what Bhishma Dev's let's actually see what they went through first. Yes, they went through this. विशान महाग्नेः पुरुषाद दर्शनात् असत्सभाया वनवास प्रच्छ्रतः मृधे मृधेनेक महारथास्त्रतो द्रौण्यस्त्रतश्चास्म हरेभिरक्षिताः. First, Vishan. Bhima was poisoned when he was a small boy. That was one difficulty, great difficulty. Mahagne, they were put in the palace of Lak, big fire happened, and that was a huge calamity in itself. Purushada darshana, Purushada means cannibal. Purusha Ada means eating. Purusha means man. Man eating cannibal. Who is that? Bakasura. Not that Krishna killed Bakasura, that Bakasura is different. Another Bakasura Bhima killed. No, sorry, Hidimba. Sorry, Bakasura. Hidimba. So then he married Hidimbi. That Hidimba was a man eater, cannibal. Bhima killed him. Purushada Darshanat. That was another calamity. Asat Sabhaya. Sabha means assembly. The Kuru assembly. They were not Satsabha, it is not Satsanga. Asat Sabha. All rascals sitting down there, and that was a huge insult to the whole Pandavas. 5 strongest men of the world, half demigod, half human, father demigod, mother human. They can't save a woman. Bhima, how much insult for him. In front of him, Draupadi was being stripped. Bhishma was not saying anything. How much calamity that is. For such a great woman, such a great family, these kinds of things are happening. Asat Sabhaya, Vanavasa Krichrataha. Krichrataha means all the difficulties of Vanavas. Mridhe Mridhe Aneka Maharatha Astrato. Aneka Maharatha Astrato. Unlimited numbers of, so many Maharathas were there in the Kurukshetra war. That was another great calamity. So many chances there were that we could have been destroyed and we could have been, could or could not, that is another thing, but there were calamities. Draunyastrataha. Not finished. Okay, war finished, okay, fine. No, Draunyastrataha. What Drauni means what? What is Drauni? Drona's son. Drauni. Ashwathama. Astrataha. He released Brahmastra to kill even the descendant of even after the war. Parikshit. In Parikshit. So that also you have saved. Harebhirakshita. You have always saved us. This is called Rakshishyatiti Vishvaso. One of the 6 aspects of surrender. Ankulyasya Sankalpa, Pratikulyasya Varjanam, Rakshishyatiti Vishvaso. The third aspect is to have complete faith that Krishna will protect. Whatever may be the Draupadi, she was being stripped in the assembly, right? She was stripped in the assembly. Pandavas could not do anything. Great personality, Dronacharya, Bhishma Dev did not do anything. Dhritarashtra blind, don't know what is happening. So, there was nobody. And for her only Krishna. So she was holding the sari and then Krishna, hey Krishna, hey Krishna. Then Dushasana, of course, is a man, much more stronger. He was pulling hard. Then she was trying to hold with her hand, but how much can she hold? And finally she said, she just raised both hands. Hey Govinda! And she called like this, hey Govinda. And Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, there is a verse in Mahabharata. Krishna said that two words, hey Govinda, were so powerful that eternally I am indebted to her. The surrender with which she said that, hey Govinda, eternally I am indebted. I will do whatever it takes to protect her. And Krishna supplied the sari. Hare bhi rakshita, rakshishyati iti vishvasa. Why did Krishna not give the sari when she was holding? No. Oh, you still have faith in your own strength to protect yourself. Okay, I will wait. When she understood that she is completely helpless and, hey Govinda, complete surrender. Yes, then rewarded. What is that? Ye yatha mam prapadyante tam tathaiva bhajamyaham. Oh, okay. Next time I will do that. Anything happens, I say, hey Govinda, why is nothing is coming? Because I am doubting, because I am questioning why nothing is coming. That's why it's not coming. Because I do it doubtfully. Draupadi had zero doubt. Then what happens? He will become Nanga. Naked. The Maya, that's how she will beat us. She will strip everything out of us. After all, we are going naked from here. We are going to be stripped naked. And that time when we say, hey Govinda, he will not going to save us anything. Mrityu, sarvaharas chaham. She is my agency. Everything will be taken away from you. You will be naked. Nanga aya, nanga jayega. So, that is how we are. But for a person who is a devotee, then his spiritual assets are not lost. He cannot be Nanga. Dharmo vittam niranam pretya. We say Nanga because body, but the body is still here. And sometimes the body is in fact clothed nicely. The dead body is nicely covered in cloth. Right? So what do you mean Nanga? That means whatever our possessions, everything is just gone. But for a devotee, his assets, Ayur Harati Vaipumsam, Udyanastan Chayanasau, Tasyarteya Kshanonita Uttama Shloka Vartaya, 2.3.17 Bhagavatam. Ayur Harati Vaipumsam. For an ordinary person, sunrise, sunset, beautiful sunrise, we take pictures, golden hour, they say, photographers, who is the photographer here? You know the golden hour? Golden hour is the sunrise and sunset. Everything looks good in that. You take photos, everything looks very romantic, very nice, scenic. As we are enjoying the romance of the beauty of this material world, Udyan Astam. Udyan means rising, Astam means setting. Ayur Harati. Ayur. Ayushman Bhava, we say Ayushman Bhava, blessing. Ayur Harati Vaipumsam. Ayu means Ayurveda. Veda means knowledge. Knowledge about life, about health. Our health is diminishing, our lifetime is diminishing with every rising and setting of the sun. Tasyarte yat kshanonita uttama shloka vartaya. But not for a person who is engaged in Krishna consciousness. The sun does not have the power to rob him of his lifetime, because whatever he is doing now, dharmo vittam niranam pretya. Of course, this verse is saying, glorifying the devotees, but especially this line, dharmo vittam niranam pretya. What is that meaning? Religion is the wealth of those who are passing away from this world. Vittam means money, wealth. Dharmo vittam niranam pretya. Niranam means of human beings. Pretya means one who is about to die. So niranam, dharmo vittam niranam pretya. So this is the thing that a person takes to the next. So a devotee cannot go Nanda. So he will be protected. That's why Kaunteya Pratijanehi Name Bhakta Pranashyati. So do we think that the Pandavas have undergone all these things out of karma? No. Krishna gave them these troubles. That is the point today's verse. This Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is saying in the the purport, right? What is that? Two types of obstacles one will face in the devotional service. One is by Vaishnava Aparadh. Other is when Krishna or his devotee desires to put troubles in front of devotee. That is quite interesting. Why would Krishna put troubles? That will actually magnify the glories of the devotees. And therefore Kunti Devi, she said, after all these things all, she listed all the list of calamities that happened in her life. And remember, Krishna was in this world for 125 years, right? So 36 years he ruled Dwarka after the Kurukshetra war. So if you minus 36 from 125, you get 89 years. So at 89 years old, Krishna was 89, there was this war. Arjuna was the same age. Arjuna was 89. So Yudhishthira Maharaj maybe 91, maybe? Yudhishthira Maharaj, maybe around? Kunti Devi must be at least like 15 to 20 years old, older than him. So at least 110 years old. She is the wife of Pandu. And Pandu was born by Vyasadev's impregnation by Niyoga process. Bhishmadev was already well marriageable age already at the time. Bhishmadev, how much more older he is? So Kunti Devi was 110 years old. At that time, you are done with life. Chalo yaar, let's pack up our bags, go to Haridwar, Rishikesh somewhere, Hare Krishna, at least enough, I am tired of my life, She is, how bold she is. And, they have gone through all these things. So, Bhishma Dev, he expressed, Bhishma Dev is a man, he is a Kshatriya, Maharatha, Atiratha. He was himself lying on the bed of arrows. The kind of tolerance levels he has, unimaginable. Giving big lectures for 2 months on the bed of arrows. Aho kashtam ahonyayam. This is what such a tolerant person is saying this. Aho kashtam ahonyayam yadyuyam dharmanandana jivitum narhatha klishtam vipradharmachyutashraya. He said to the Pandavas, oh, what terrible sufferings and what terrible injustices you good souls had to suffer for being the sons of religion personified. You did not deserve to remain alive under those tribulations. Yet you were protected by the Brahmanas, God and religion. This was Bhishma Dev's testimony. This is the amount of torture you have gone through. That I can't. This lying down on the bed of arrows is nothing compared to what you have gone through. Physical body pain, being hurt is not as painful as one's emotion, one's heart being hurt, everything. And it is not done by some enemies, family members. It's very, very painful. In fact, there is one verse. Everything there is a verse. Let's go to 61. 11:22-61. Sudushaham imam manya atmanya sadatikramam vidushama vishvatman prakritirhi baliyasi ritetvad dharma niratan shantam ste charanalayan. O soul of the universe, the conditioning of one's personality in material life is very strong, and therefore it is very difficult even for learned men to tolerate the offences committed against them by ignorant people. Only your devotees who are fixed in your loving service and who have achieved peace by residing at your lotus feet are able to tolerate such offences. There is another verse actually. Okay, Lord Shiva. You see, this is actually perfect. Tatharibhirna vyathate shili mukhaihi shetirditango hridayena duyata svanam yatha vakradhiyam durutibhir divanisham tapyati marmataditaha. This is very important. What is that? Lord Shiva continued. If one is hurt by the arrows of an enemy, one is not as aggrieved as when cut by the unkind words of a relative, for such grief continues to rend one's heart day and night. Is it not true? So, there is a similar verse, I think, in the 11th canto, 4.7.15. Durvachah Banai. You see? Durvachah Banai. Queen. You see, Dhruva Maharaj was so angry because of this, his stepmother's nonsense words. They are classified here as Durvachah Banai. The arrows of harsh words. Bhinne. You see? Athapi me vinitasya Kshatrang ghoram upeyusha Suruchya durvacho banair nabhinne shrayate hriti. My dear Lord, I am very impudent for not accepting your instructions, but this is not my fault. It is due to my having been born in the Kshatriya family. My stepmother Suruchi has pierced my heart with her harsh words, therefore your valuable instruction does not stand in my heart. This is another important verse. When we are so distressed, so much so that we cannot even take the good instructions of a sadhu. This is spoken by Dhruva Maharaj when Narad Muni met him and said, you have to tolerate, he was instructing him to tolerate. These things happen in family, you should not take these things too seriously. You are a 5-year-old boy, go back home. He said, no. Although you are instructing me this, I cannot accept. I am very impudent for not accepting instruction, but this is not my fault. Okay. I am a Kshatriya, so I am enraged by what she spoke. You are right what you are saying, but her words were so sharp that your instructions, my heart is wounded and your instructions are not staying in my heart. This is how he was disturbed. So if we come under the control of anger, we can't even take the words of a sadhu properly. Of course, Narad Muni, being compassionate, he said, okay, since you want to take revenge, you wanted a post greater, okay, Vishnu will give you everything. So he, clever, he was actually preaching first of all non-violence and everything, toleration. Dhruva Maharaj did not. But still, Narad Muni, you see how he cleverly, okay, fine, you do this way. Then he said, Kacham Michinman Napidivyaratnam. He said, Sthana Bhilashi Tapasi Sthitoham Tvam Praptavan Deva Munindra Guhyam Kacham Vichinman Napidivyaratnam Swamin Kritarthosmi Varam Nayache. When he was being blessed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Dhruva Maharaj said, O my Lord, because I was seeking an opulent material position, I was performing severe types of penance and austerity. Now I have gotten you, who are very difficult for the great demigods, saintly persons and kings to attain. I was searching after a piece of glass, but instead I have found a most valuable jewel. Therefore I am so satisfied that I do not wish to ask any benediction from you. So what happened here was he was actually looking for a piece of glass. Narad Muni was saying, no, you are just after a piece of glass, it's not that valuable as you think, so I will show you a diamond. Dhruva Maharaj was like, no, I am not interested in the diamond, I want the piece of glass. I want means I want. How can I get it? Narad Muni was clever. He stopped convincing him about the diamond. You will get your piece of glass like this. You worship Vishnu, Vishnu will give the piece of glass. And what he got? He did not get a piece of glass, he got peace of mind. All his anger gone. He got the diamond of Krishna. Rejected. But then Krishna gave him, no, you have to take it. That again looks like an impediment, right? I don't want. No, you have to take it. Because he wanted to show that I don't just trick people to become devotees and then leave them as beggars. No, I can give them the entire world. Dhruvalok is it's called direction. What is it? Navigation. Every star can move in the sky, but Dhruvalok does not. So the navigation, they use that as the North Pole, as pole star. Actually, it's true both materially and spiritually. Materially, yes, a navigator on the ocean, spiritually also. If you follow Dhruva, you will not be lost. Dhruva Maharaj. That means devotional service, basically. So if we catch hold of the devotees, star, he is a superstar. The devotee is actual superstar. So if we follow the superstar, Dhruva, and we will also not be lost in this ocean of samsara. So this trick that Narad Muni played with Dhruva Maharaj. So in this way, devotees find somewhere or other. Kashyapa Muni did the same thing with Diti. What is that process? 1 year he asked her to follow because she wanted a son that would kill Indra. Then she wanted a son to kill Maruts. She wanted a son to kill Indra because Hiranyakashipu was killed. So she was very upset. My sons are killed by because of Indra only. Every time he is falling in my. So she wanted a son to kill Indra. Kashyapa Muni was like, what kind of horrible desire is this? No, I am determined. Okay. You do this vrata. And he described the whole vrata, many rules. And he said, you follow this vrata for 1 year. Then you will have a son who can kill Indra. But if you do not follow, if for whatever reason you make even one mistake, you will have a son that will be the friend of Indra. So, actually it's not friend of Indra. Even one mistake, you will be this thing. This thing won't be fruitful. So, she was pregnant and then she made one mistake. One of the rules was after eating you have to wash your hands and before going to sleep. She did not do that. Before going to sleep, she did not wash her hands and legs. She went to sleep. And Indra saw that. Okay, this is my chance. Then he became Anima, so small, he went into her womb and wanted to kill that baby inside. He cut the fetus in 7 parts. And then each part he cut into another 7 parts. So total 49 parts. But by Vishnu's power, They became 49 people inside the womb. And they were fearing, what are you doing? What is this? Why are you attacking us? You are like our brother. We consider you our elder brother. Oh, you are considering my brother? Okay, then good. Then Indra did not. He saw that this is the arrangement of the Lord. Then he went out of there. And the 49 Maruts came. There were the 49 Maruts. Maruts, actually, I do not know what is their function as a demigods. What do they do? Because I see that the word Maruti comes from the Marut. Hanuman is called Maruti. But why is he called Maruti? I am yet to do that research. But Marut is what? Why 49 Maruts? What do they do? Are they assistants of Vayu or something? So, Maruti definitely is related to Marut. It's clear cut. So, what is the relation between Hanuman and Maruts? I want to know. So anyway, I'm coming back to the point. So, 10:20. So, devotional service is never devotional service cannot be impeded if we are focused. Dṛhastha, whatever comes, like Priyavrata, doesn't matter. Last verse before we go is a purport actually. 3:16-37. विश्वस्य स्थितिलयोद्भवहेतुराद्यो योगेश्वरैरपि दुरत्यययोगमायः क्षेमं विधास्यति स नो भगवान् स्त्रियास्मदीयविमृशेन कियानिहार्थः. My dear sons, Brahma is saying to the demigods. This was when Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu were being born, and the entire sky became dark, and so many ill omens were seen. That time, the demigods became very disturbed, perturbed. So Brahma said to them, my dear sons, the Lord is the controller of the three modes of nature and is responsible for the creation, preservation and dissolution of the universe. His wonderful creative power, Yogamaya, cannot be easily understood even by the masters of yoga. That most ancient person, the personality of Godhead, will alone come to our rescue. What purpose can we serve on his behalf by deliberating on the subject? So, they were trying to analyze what is happening. Demigods could not understand what was happening. They did not know that this great giant Vijay were coming down from Vaikuntha. And the powerful souls were coming down, and then there's so much disturbance in the whole universe. They could not understand, but Brahma said, what is the use of delving on the subject? No point, because it's actually a waste of time, honestly. Best thing is to just depend on the Lord and become devotee. So he alone will come to our rescue. Now, here, purport. When something is arranged by the Supreme Personality of God, now here also today's verse, Priyavrata, the arrangement was Krishna wanted him to get married. That's a special, very special request. Even Prahlad Maharaj, for that matter, he said, Hitvatmapatam Gṛhamandhakupam. He said, Gṛhamandhakupam. Household life is like a dark well. But then he got married. He had a son and a grandson also, Bali Maharaj. How come he told all these verses at 5 years old and he got married after that? He's so strong, brahmachari. The thing is, they can handle it. They can easily handle it. For them, it doesn't matter. What is that? Naham varni nacha grihapatir no manastho yatirva kintu prodyan nikhila paramananda purnamritabdher gopi bhartu padakamalayur dāsa dāsa. So, it doesn't matter it doesn't matter. I'm just a servant, that's all. So, he does not place so much emphasis on his external position, which is important as long as we are not advanced to that stage. So we are recommended not to indulge too much in the bodily concept. We are advised to give up bodily concept. But for a pure devotee, both these instructions are invalid. Not relevant, because he is not attached to bodily concept. But he can accept everything, even his own body, and use it in the service of the Lord. Therefore, he does not need to be taught that he has to be detached from the body. So he does not need instructions of renunciation. He does not need instructions of regulated sense gratification. No, he is above this. He is above. But still, just to teach others who are advancing on the path, they will stick to the rules. But actually they are not obliged. Yastva atmaratirev syat atmatush triptasya manavah. What is that? 317. We will come back here. Atmaneva cha santushtas tasya karyam na vidyate. You see? But for one who takes pleasure in the self, whose human life is one of self-realization and who is satisfied in the self only, fully satiated, for him there is no duty. There is no duty. He is not obliged to abide by the Vedic rules and regulations because he has already transcended that. All these rules are to allow us to come to Sattva-guna and then eventually rise above that by devotional service to Suddha Sattva. But he does not need these instructions to come to Sattva-guna. He is already beyond. Just like we do not need those instructions for the Tamogun people. They say, oh, once a month you eat meat by offering to Kali. We don't need that. Yes, there are rules like that. But we don't need that. Because we are cultivating something in the mode of goodness. And that is for the ignorant people to go slowly elevate themselves. So we don't need that. And similarly, a pure devotee does not even need these. Sadhana and all this. He doesn't need. No need to tell him that you must chant 16 rounds every day. He will chant 192 rounds. What is the need to tell him 16 rounds? That is the reason why he does not need anything. He is already on that. Automatically he is doing. So for such a person, all rules don't apply. Both pravritti and nivritti don't apply. He can be here or there and he is completely aloof. Jivo va maro va. Gṛhastha ko vanetha ko sada hari bole dako. So when something is arranged by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one should not be disturbed by it, even if it appears to be a reverse according to one's calculations. Now Priyavrata was full on brahmachari, sannyas, liberation. He was on that path. Suddenly a U-turn ahead. U-turn ahead. Then Gṛhastha life. But for him it was not a U-turn. Oh, some weight? Okay, carry. Go further. So what? That is the power of a devotee. But this is exalted. This is very exalted. We cannot say, I will also be. We have to actually be very careful because we are not on the level of Priyavrata. For example, sometimes, you see, this is even more intense. Sometimes we see that a powerful preacher is killed. So that can be a reverse. Family life, okay, maybe a little bit, but killed. What if halfway the Pandavas were killed? That happened to Abhimanyu. Abhimanyu was killed. What is this? People cannot understand what is how can Abhimanyu be killed? Arjuna's son, such a great warrior. It's such a tragedy that he got killed when he was greater than even Arjuna. Of course, there's reason also. He did aparadh in his previous life. I heard the other day why he had to go. Of course, his father also wanted him back, but also something, I forgot that story. There's background. So Krishna knows. So Krishna has his plan. We only see a very limited perspective. So, for example, sometimes we see that a powerful preacher is killed, or sometimes he is put into difficulty, just as Haridas Thakur was, or even the Pandavas for that matter. He was a great devotee who came into this material world to execute the will of the Lord by preaching the Lord's glories. But Haridas was punished at the hands of the Qazi by being beaten in 22 marketplaces. Similarly, Lord Jesus Christ was crucified and Prahlad Maharaj was put through so many tribulations. The Pandavas, who were direct friends of Krishna, lost their kingdom, their wife was insulted and they had to go through many severe tribulations. Seeing all these reverses affect devotees, one should not be disturbed. Sita also was kidnapped by Ravan. That is also very disturbing condition. Seeing all these reverses affect devotees, one should not be disturbed. One should simply understand that in these matters there must be some plan of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Bhagavatam's conclusion is that a devotee is never disturbed by such reverses. He accepts even reverse conditions as the grace of the Lord. One who continues to serve the Lord even in reverse conditions is assured that he will go back to Godhead, back to Vaikuntha planets. Parikshit Maharaj, devotee, pure devotee, saw the Lord in the womb of his mother. Before even birth, he saw. And suddenly he was cursed by 7 days. Finish. And he was in the youth of his life. He was the king of the world. And he was the most righteous ruler. Everything was perfect. Suddenly, what is this? He will be disturbed. How can this happen to such a great devotee? And Parikshit Maharaj is not that he was just okay, what to do. No, he could have summoned the Lord and asked him to save him again, and Lord would have done it, because he will do anything for his devotee. He saved him already once without asking, before even was born. So he could have saved him again easily. But or this Brahmana boy was thinking he was a big, Shringi was thinking he was a big Brahman and sharp. Parikshit Maharaj is a Vaishnava. He is more powerful than him. You could have counter sharp. Like in boxing match, punch and counter punch. You would have done that, but no. Fine. Took it in his stride and listened to Bhagavatam. Thank you, this Brahmin boy, thank you very much. Bhagavatam. So everything they will make good use of it. Madhav Prabhu was also saying this. I sold him one book. Actually, I met him in that book table distributing books. So both Madhav Prabhu and Nirmala Mataji were there, and they were actually shopping. They were walking around. I had a fight with some other guy, and they both were actually. Madhav Prabhu was looking at me, arguing with that person, and that person left, and I continued that anger with Madhav Prabhu. But not angry at him, but trying to explain to him, you see how this man is talking, what is this, how can he talk like this? I was trying to explain to him. Then he got a little bit interested and he bought the Science of Self-Realization book. He bought, but he did not read immediately. But very soon he got this back pain and he had to take 1 month leave, bed rest, doctor told. And that bed rest was the time when he read the Science of Self-Realization and became devotee. Now the whole family is devotee. So, if otherwise where do you get time? Very, very busy, morning to night, where is the time? Now bed rest? Okay, nothing else, just read the book. Nothing else but this. I also, when I got COVID, then I was quarantined in the facility. Nothing to do, nobody to talk to. I think it was very strange. What should I do like this in my life? And health was also a little bit, first 2 days a little bit, fever and some disturbance, body was not digesting well. Especially when you are sick, you want to have some people around you. That also was not there. Isolation, I cannot talk to anyone, nothing. That's like, what to do? Aho kashtam, aho anyayam. So, but what was there? Then I really relished this verse, I brought, of course, my Kindle, which had all Prabhupada's books, and my iPad and phone and everything. So I memorized so many shlokas. I never memorized that many shlokas in that few days. I think I memorized 2 chapters of Bhagavad Gita while I was there. 2.5 chapters. 2 chapters. This was Desha Kalartha Yuktani Hrittapopashamani cha Haranti Smaratas Chittam Govinda Bhigitani. When Krishna was missing, Krishna was left this world, Arjuna. Then he said, now I am attracted to those instructions imparted to me by the personality of Godhead Govinda, because they are impregnated with instructions for relieving the burning heart in all circumstances of space and time and space. These instructions are the only refuge now. Okay, read Prabhupada's books. I was reading and memorizing shlokas, and so many insights came from there. It was just one of the most blissful periods, actually. It was full immersion in the Prabhupada's books. It was very satisfying actually. The whole experience was quite satisfying. In fact, I made a whole vlog. I shot the whole video, but halfway through the editing, maybe I should one day release it. But it is, COVID has become old news now. Yeah. Yeah. So this is the thing. So his instructions are as good as him. So this is as good as associating with him. So that way we have to take instructions. Just we will finish that purport and we'll wrap it up because it's quite late. Yeah. Lord Brahma assured the demigods that there was no use in talking about how the disturbing situation of darkness was taking place, since the actual fact was that it was ordered by the Supreme Lord. Brahma knew this because he was a great devotee. It was possible for him to understand the plan of the Lord. So we have to just be patient and take the plan of the Lord in a stride. You are the Lord, you make plans, I don't make plans. Sarvarambha Parityagi. A devotee is called Sarva Arambha Parityagi. Arambha means start. When you make the start, when you make your own plan, that is the Arambhi. Sarvarambha Parityagi. He makes no endeavor. That means what? He is Siddhu, Buddhu, he is a lazy fellow? No. He will, the Arambha is done by the Lord. The Lord will say, the spiritual master will say, give this order. Like Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur told him, you go preach in the West. That was the Arambha. And of course that Arambha is coming from Krishna's original Arambha of preaching. So the devotee will take up all kinds of Arambha, secondary Arambhas, starts. That means he will initiate so many projects to fulfill that primary order of the Lord, to preach. So he does not make the Arambha. But when I make my own plan, I want a bungalow. That is not the Lord's plan. You started it. And now you are working hard, wasting time, wasting life. So this is Arambha. So Sarvarambha Parityagi. That is devotee. So whatever for Krishna. So we'll stop here. Very, very late. Manjukesi Mataji is saying Maruts means storm deities. Deities of storm. Interesting. So I think he must be the assistants of Vayu Dev, I think. Maybe. Alright, so Rudra. Destruction. Right, thank you very much. Gṛhastha Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Gaur Premanand.